Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. So I apologize about the poor camera quality ahead of time. I am using my laptop right now, which doesn't have their best camera. So how was your full moon? How are you feeling? How did that go for you? It seemed like it was a pretty rejuvenating, creative, abundant time, maybe, because I just think that we were all creating from our heart center and trying to make something that really reflected our soul essence. So I pulled a bunch of cards. There's not a whole lot happening this week. There are certain aspects, and it's an interesting blend of creativity and beauty and spirituality, and also maybe some intellectual issues that we're having. I see it as thoughts, thought patterns, belief systems that maybe are holding us back and that are wound pretty deeply. I do think that we kind of leveled up within the last week. Since the full moon, it's like something flipped and it really freed us up of a lot. But I think this week we still have Mars in Capricorn, and I think this week we're going to really be able to finally break through something, and it's very much in the mind. So the first thing I want to talk about, if you didn't see my Instagram post, is the US Pluto Return. So I'm not going to go too deep into it. You can check out that post if you want to read more into it, or even better, check out Astrology Hub's video with Rick Levine. It is titled The US Pluto Return, or Is It, with Rick Merlin Levine, and he explains it very, very well. So it is true that today Pluto is at the exact degree and minute that Pluto was in on July 4th, 1776, which is when the United States was birthed. So what's interesting about this is there's something called the precession of the equinox. So in tropical astrology, which is what we use here, we don't actually follow, okay, so I can do this. Okay, so tropical astrology is based on the seasons, while sidereal astrology is based on the actual stars in the sky, right? So something called the precession of the equinox. So if you take a top and you spin it really, really fast, it's as it starts to slow down, it's gonna wobble before it falls over. Now that wobbling motion, it's actually wobbling backwards from the opposite way that you've spun it. And the Earth actually does that too. So the Earth actually does wobble as it's rotating. And basically what happens is if we are standing, okay, right where you are in this moment, if you're sitting right there and you look at the sky, the stars are actually going to shift 1 degree every 72 years. So it's basically insignificant in our lives, but when we're talking about Pluto, which takes 248 years to go around the sun, it actually becomes kind of a big deal. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is, yes, today, as we map the astrology in tropical astrology in the West, which is what most people use, not everyone, the way that we map astrology, it is true that Pluto is in the same placement, degree and minute that it was on July 4th, 1776. Now, if we're actually looking in the sky and we're going to say Pluto is in the exact same spot that it was, it's actually not, because of the precession of the equinoxes. So because it's moved about roughly 3.5 degrees, it's actually in the sky. It's not in the exact placement yet, and it will be in about 2 years. But the way that we map astrology here in the West, it is in the exact placement. So does it really matter? Not really, because we're still feeling the effects of the US Pluto return. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make is we're probably going to continue to feel that for the next 2 years at least. It's going to be longer though, because the orb is so much wider in when it comes to Pluto. So Pluto cycles. So we're here, but we're not here. We've already been seeing it. It's not like the world is going to end and like the US is going to implode or something on the day, but we're already seeing the shadow. It's almost like that's all we can see is the shadow of the US right now. Like for real. And that's like the danger with Pluto too. Pluto deconstructs. Pluto is like that apocalyptic kind of ending, deconstructing everything that no longer works, deconstructing everything, destroying everything. but Pluto can kind of give us that sensation of like, we can't help but only notice the things that are wrong because we're in that like Plutonian state. So not only are we seeing the shadows for the first time in a long time, it's like all we can see. So it can be a little bit frustrating. My Pluto and Scorpio generation people definitely know how that is. We all have that. It's not really a problem, but we have the tendency to notice the problems wherever we go in the shadows and trust literally nothing. We're always focusing on the bad because that's kind of what the purpose is of the Pluto people, is to transmute that darkness and to transmute the shadow, not really darkness, transmute the shadow and become kind of like a spiritual alchemist, if you will. So I'm going to share my screen. Hey, my cats are fighting. Okay, so let's go back 2 days. The moon is in Libra right now. Something that I noticed, so we're in Pisces season now. Jupiter and Neptune, they're at 11 degrees and 22 degrees, and they have been for a little bit here. Now, I think that's significant personally, because in numerology, 11 and 22 are the master numbers. We're trying to master something right now, collectively, something very, very important, something looking at these cards that has something to do with illusions and delusions. And I really do feel like it's like a mental health thing. So it's something with our thoughts. It's something about the way that we see the world. And there actually is a lot of like abundance in our lives right now, but we're just not seeing it for some reason. It looks like the goal for all of us really is emotional fulfillment at this point in time. But we have to like sort through something in our own intellect that might be holding us back. And it might not be super pleasant to do so, but it will benefit us in the long run. Okay, so President's Day is tomorrow, whatever. So on the 23rd, Mars in Capricorn is going to sextile Neptune. So 22 degrees, 14 minutes of Capricorn, 22 degrees, 12 minutes of Pisces here. So 2 minutes off here, just a little bit after the fact. So there's something with Mars and Neptune actually working together here. I do think that illusions and delusions that we hold on to about society tells us that these certain specific things are going to make us happy. And the thing about that is that it's very dangerous because it's a program. It's not necessarily, and usually it's not necessarily what's going to make us happy. Maybe elements of it can, but you know, I have the 7 of Cups here. In general, those things tend to not make us happy. It's really a program that was created by the overlords. Sorry to use that word, I just think it's funny. The people, the powers that be, it was a program that was created by them to control us, to get us to do certain things that benefit them, but they don't necessarily make us happy, but we think that they do because it's a program. It's programmed into us like right away, you know, not intentionally all the time, but sometimes by our families, by the television, television, that programming, magazine, like everywhere we go, society. It's always been interesting to me that so I live near Chicago, right? The closer you get to the city, the more that program shows itself, like intensely. Once you get into Chicago, like to me, it's like a totally different world. But if you go to like Southern Illinois, that's like a totally different world too. It seems like that program is less so. And that's like a whole other video that we could talk about that and why that is. But there's something about that programming that's just not working at this moment. Mercury sextile Chiron. So there's something in the mind of like, how are these belief systems really serving us? Or are they serving us at all? Does it really reflect our truth? Does it really reflect who we are as a person and our uniqueness? Mercury in Aquarius doesn't want to be like everyone else. Mercury in Aquarius has that tribe mentality, but it's still it's supposed to be very individualistic of standing your ground. Actually, this reminds me of Mercury landing. Kelly shared something from one of Stephen Forrest's book about Aquarius and how they have a very strong tribe mentality, But the goal is to really stand strong in your own belief systems, even if the whole tribe is arguing with you, even if the whole tribe argues against you. Like, be confident enough to know that that is your belief, but also be open-minded enough to at least listen to the other side, but that doesn't mean you have to agree with everyone. Okay, all right. On Thursday, Venus is going to sextile Neptune. So that is the 24th. Venus is at 22 degrees of Capricorn and Neptune 22 degrees of Pisces. Venus sextile Neptune is beautiful because Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. Venus is earthly love. I love this. I just can't think of an example. I love this tapestry. I love this person. They are mine. We are in a relationship together. That's like very earthly kind of love. So seeing like a literal object of desire and wanting to possess it. That's a very Venus energy. That's very Libra Taurus. Neptune, on the other hand, is transcendental love. So higher consciousness love, spiritual love that is unattached. It's very flowy. It's very compassionate. It's definitely otherworldly, I would say. So they're very, very similar, Venus and Neptune. But it is interesting too, because Neptune is in Pisces, Venus is in Capricorn. There's like this unspoken, beautiful thing. I guess some people do talk about it, but there's this beautiful thing between Pisces and Capricorn because they represent two foundations, I think, of living here on Earth. Capricorn obviously is the grounded, earthly, structural stuff, and Neptune is the spiritual, higher consciousness, higher minded, can't really grasp it. And it's interesting when those two come together. This is actually my sister and her husband. I know so many Capricorn Pisces couples. They come together and it forms into this like beautiful union where Pisces is dissolving those rough edges, those boundaries of Saturn or Capricorn, and Capricorn is bringing some structure, bringing some grounded reality into those very higher dimensional places of Pisces. It's a really beautiful union that those two have together. Mercury will also square Uranus, so we're breaking through. We are breaking through something mentally. All right, I'm going to get out of here because I want to talk about the cards right now. So there's a lot of abundance in our lives right now. We're not seeing it. You know why? Because we think that it's supposed to look a certain way. And this seems to be something that we keep coming back to. I know that I do as well. We were taught, we were not taught, we were programmed to think that certain things were the hallmarks of success. It's a program, like it is a program, meaning it is literally a mental download. It's like a computer download. It doesn't reflect the computer. It doesn't change what the computer is. It just changes the way it functions. That's what a program is. Just because our lives don't look like that, it doesn't mean that there's nothing in it. And this is where we get kind of like to a dangerous territory, because I have the 5 of Pentacles here for the future. We got to get out of that. We got to see how much abundance there really is, because that's interesting. So in the future, I have the 9 of Pentacles reversed. And in the faraway past, I have the 9 of Cups reversed. This is interesting because we think that our lives should look a certain way to show that we are successful or to feel that we are successful or whatever, because we feel that way, it actually causes us to hold on and like hoard our stuff more often than sharing with each other, because we don't feel like it's ever enough. And that's what the program does to us too. It makes us feel like no matter what we do, no matter how much we have, it's still not enough, because we can still do better. We can still climb that ladder of success. Blah, blah, blah. I got a 10th house stellium, so I get this. It's very anxiety provoking, but the danger of that is if we don't share what we have because we have some kind of like root chakra issue where we don't ever feel like we have enough. God, I just feel like this is ancestral too for all of us, or some of us. Because we don't feel like we have enough, we don't share. And because this universe, it's like a reflection, right? If we don't share what we have, we don't end up getting anything back. So that's like the dangerous territory here. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy then, because we're like, well, we got to hold on to it because we might have enough, we don't have enough. And then when we do that, we don't get anything in return because that's just the energy we're putting out there. And then when we don't actually get anything in return, then we're like, oh, see, it's like a very dysfunctional thing. And it's really hard to break out of, especially if you grew up in families who are rooted in like very poor lineages, who are very just not wealthy, very poor. That stuff gets passed down generations through programs, through belief systems. But the positive is that those things can be broken. Programs absolutely can be broken. There is great potential for happiness right now, but I do feel that there's a lack of gratitude. I feel that there's a lot of like pettiness right now, like what you're battling. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but the true root of the problem is in these belief systems, is in our thoughts about these things. This has very much to do with money and power and what we thought would make us happy versus what actually will. Emotional fulfillment can be had, but we have to actually go into our mental space. And I feel that Mercury square Uranus and Mercury sextile Chiron is bringing us into that place. And just kind of look at your family too. I know families, we all pass down our programs, right, to our children, they're passed down to us, but a lot of the time those programs are not actually rooted in a good space. And it's not your fault, it's not anyone else's fault, that's just how it is. So things that your family will pass down to you because they think it'll help you might not be great. So we are the ones in control, but it's only up to us to change our perspective about these things. No one is going to do that for us. And then I pulled the Kairos card and the prayer card. Spend some time meditating about this and praying. Speak with your ancestors, see what they have to say, tap into, if you can journey and tap into those lineages. I don't know what these cats are doing right now, like climbing on every like inconvenient thing that they can possibly find. Okay. Talk to your ancestors, journey into the past, or even just look at yourself in the mirror and try to figure out why you do certain things. And are they rooted in, yes, I trust the universe. Yes, I trust that the things that I need will come to me. Or is it rooted in this fear of just because it doesn't look like what some program told you that it's somehow not enough? Because that's not true either. Okay, so I think that is all I have to say. I hope that was helpful to you guys. Is there anything else here? I don't think so. Okay, so I will see you guys next Sunday, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Take some time for yourself, pray, meditate, do your spiritual work, and see what happens. Okay, all right, I love you guys. Have a great day. Bye.